testament to consistency and just his sheer skill of the game, because a lot of people like to mess around and say, oh, Hearthstone, it's very difficult to be consistent and it's almost impossible, but players like Handsomeguy, players like Dr. People just prove that wrong. And to get into these kinds of formats and get this far consistently is incredibly impressive.
You know, Raven, I didn't call for a speech, but that was a good one.
Well,
Thank you.
I like to splash it in there.
Now, we're going to go ahead and see the Hunter queued up against the Malygos Druid, and the one benefit GundamFlame does have is understanding exactly what Handsomeguy has to play, and this gives him a little bit of an advantage. And Hunter is pretty much the deck in his lineup that is tailor-made to beat a deck like Malygos Druid that wants to take its time.
Yeah, especially with the opening he's got as well, he can start to just pressure. A little bit unfortunate for him that the Living Roots come down. It's one of the better opening tools you can use against Hunter to just trade in, especially with the hero power. It does really well versus kind of Grandmother, because you just hero power into the 1/1 and then just trade into the 3/2 with the 2 tokens. So that's kind of nice there, just to save some health. But GundamFlame does have a bit of a follow-up in himself. Just dropping the Direwolf this turn. Not going to go for this slightly weaker play of the Fiery Bat off curve, or doesn't really need to coin out the Horse Rider either.
Yeah, heads up play from Handsomeguy, realizing, he doesn't need those Living Roots to do the combo damage here. There's going to come a point where he either survives the Hunter's Onslaught or he doesn't. And then once he does, he gets up that Ancient of War, uses those Moonglade portals, Feral Rages, gets out of reach, he'll win the game right there. He doesn't necessarily need to save it for the Malygos damage, and to your point, it's far more effective to basically patrol the board early on.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure GundamFlame is already planning to save that coin for the high main, as that's one of the big guys that he's going to put the pressure on, as you said early. Because Druid, if they're under too much pressure and require heavy removal every turn, but they just don't have it available to them. So you can really put the pressure on as the Hunter, and I imagine we are going to see the Bow come down this turn, and then coin high main to follow up with Bow. Very clean way to deal with the Maya Keeper. Saves the Divine Shield on the Horse Rider. As I said, continue that pressure in time for the high main turn.
Yeah, when you're down 3-1 against a guy of Handsomeguys caliber, you're going to need the help of the King of the Jungle, so...
Yeah, definitely. And it's just such an awkward minion. Druid struggles with removal anyway, and then when that huge minion drops two other minions onto the board, it's going to be a little bit rough to handle in one turn at least, so you're almost guaranteed to at least get value from the hyenas.
Is there a single... Well, okay, I guess Hex and Polymorph are really the only effective counters.
Yep.
Savannah High Main, but what a powerful card, and have to agree, it's just going to be coming down, and then if that High Main goes onto it, Mulch suddenly becomes a reasonable play against. But again, you're leaving those hyenas behind. The Hunter is still pressuring. So we're going to see Emperor Thorsen come down, and I think this is actually, in this context, a pretty solid hand to get discounted.
Yeah, I agree. Just being able, making the removal cheaper just so you can do more of it in one turn is always great. And now he has options for himself for Ancient of War and Wrath in a turn, which is huge, just to be able to take down one of the smaller minions. Barnes is available for Gundam, but as I said, just needs to be high main this turn, and I think it's pretty good for Handsomeguy that he managed to get the Emperor down. Because if there were no threats this turn, and he just ramped, suddenly the board is too much to deal with, where at least that soaked the Bow and the Divine Shield, or more importantly, just the attack from the Horse Rider to stem the damage a little bit, was super important there.
Yeah, so Handsomeguy can play down the Ancient of War and then also the Wrath to not only cycle a card, but get rid of this Horse Rider and remove the possible outs for dealing with Ancient of War. And this also plays around the Houndmaster pretty well, because the Houndmaster does not make the Savannah High Main big enough to actually deal with the Ancient of War. Yeah,
this is one of the really good counter minions as well, because, as you said, it pretty much requires like a kill command as well as the high main attack. And it means that the high main actually just dies as well and leaves it. So, with the trade without the buffed health, so he's actually just going to Houndmaster and potentially not even trade.
Yeah, I think in this situation, and GundamFlame really has to think this one through. Again, he is facing elimination. This is his last gasp to try to get back into the series. Give it time to think it over, but I actually think I like just doing the trade here.
Yeah, because the second the minion gets dealt with, there could be, mulch into swipe, for example, then you've just lost the way to deal with most of the health on the Ancient of War. And the times I've made similar plays in the past, you kind of always regret not doing the damage, because the Ancient of War is a big guy with 10 health, and doing most of that and just leaving a 2 health sort of requirement from GundamFlame, especially because he has Unleash the Hounds just to help with that extra damage, is going to be pretty good for him there. So let's see the Nourish come out from Handsomeguy, probably for card draw at this point on 8 mana. You don't really need to ramp too much. He does have options such as Living Roots to deal with the what's left of the high main at this moment, and even just a Feral Rage to finish off the Houndmaster as well.
Right, and obviously by making that trade with the high main, suddenly Mulch is really not appealing at all. You're just going to finish it off with, you know, one of your lower damage removal spells, a Wrath, a Living Roots. In a true emergency, I guess Feral Rage, obviously you don't want to do that, but Mulch is pretty much off the table now, so Handsomeguy is kind of in a good spot right now. He's actually soaked up a lot of the aggression from the high main, and you know, we're getting to that point now where GundamFlame is getting into the window. It's like, all right, it's time to start having Call of the Wild, or else you're going to be in a big problem because Handsomeguy has been allowed to draw so many cards.
Yeah, and if you can deal with this board state without using the Mulch, it opens up options for Mulch to become, instead of a sort of big guy removal tool, more of a tempo card. So if you just drop a minion, it's like, oh, just Mulch. It's 2 mana, especially because it's been reduced. You just pay 2 mana, take a minion off the board, and it's almost like Sap to a large extent. And Druid would very much like Sap as a card.
I don't want Druid to ever have Sap. That just
no one does.
Terrible.
It's just the Druid player does, though.
Sure.
And even the Arcane Giant being drawn by Handsomeguy means, if you look at his hand, he's got a lot of spells, not a lot of threats. But now with just the Arcane Giant, it can be very difficult for them to deal with outside of a deadly shot. So he does have the option of dropping that down and, you know, presenting a threat himself to the hunter.
Right now, this would be, I think, a pretty great turn if you had 8 mana. But GundamFlame has 7, and it's basically hero power and witch card. Barnes out that high main. You know it's in there. You know you're going to draw it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good skill to be able to Barnes out high main. Something I actually,
I was going to say, I watch your stream.
So that I actually pride myself on. I'm sure Soto would agree as well. He's seen it happen in person multiple times. But I think I actually... it depends exactly how his deck's built, how many pieces got to come out. Because oh, that's not too bad. Because what you want to do is put a threat on the board, even though it's a 1-1. And Tundra Rhino is one of those threats, which it will need to be dealt with this turn. The only problem here is this potential of the beasts being cleared up, which then means Houndmaster is less effective next turn. So I wouldn't have even minded the Wolf, because it's unlikely to be fully cleared, to then get Houndmaster and then use the damage straight away.
Well, and looking at what he can do next turn, he can guarantee value on the Houndmaster, even if the entire board gets cleared. Yeah. He can just go ahead, put down the Infested Wolf. He can Houndmaster it. So I definitely agree that on that turn, I think Infested Wolf was probably the single strongest play. Thinking of what he has for his next turn with no Call of the Wild in hand, he probably has to be kind of a little more geared towards what he's doing in the future. Yeah,
but there's always a chance that, let's be honest, if Barnes gets high main, then you're feeling pretty good about life. You know, like, that is one of those plays that will win you the game. And, you know, don't blame GundamFlame at all for going for it. And he still has plenty of follow-up. And this is where we're going to see the Mulch, just to say, less of, you know, I'm dealing with a huge threat, to just 2 mana get off the board and deal with it. And the minion coming off this Mulch is actually going to be pretty important. Ooh.
Do you believe?
That's not bad.
Do you believe in Onyx Bishop miracles?
Yes, definitely.
I don't.
There are so many good cards he could bring back.
Well, unfortunately, Handsomeguy in this turn has cleared most of GundamFlame's board and also taken the initiative. And wow, this turn just became a lot more complicated, especially when you're staring down 16 damage and you're on 20 health.
Yeah, this is actually super tough.
You could take a safe route where you Houndmaster your Hyena and just start like clearing off 2 dudes, I guess, but that's not going to win you the game. I'm not even sure there's any sequence of cards he can put together in hand that win the game. You have Unleash the Hounds, so you can generate 4 tokens. You could go for the Onyx Bishop play along with that, but I mean, he hasn't played any minions that have taunt.
Yeah, this is so difficult, actually. I think the game will be decided on how this turn plays out for Gundam and going to be Handsomeguy response, because the game is pretty much on a knife's edge at the moment, and there are multiple good plays he can make. He might choose to say, I'm going to play high main. If you can't kill me next turn, then I'll probably win, you know, or you have to very much focus on the high main to clear it up. But it looks like GundamFlame has gone with the Unleash, and I'm pretty sure he's... Oh, okay. I thought he was going full face there, which suddenly becomes a little bit risky because the dogs, although fill the board, don't actually do enough damage. It's not like he puts them in hero power range next turn, and Malygos
not quite
Moonfire is just out, so GundamFlame doing the trades saved the day.
Well, you know, we've seen him do a lot of trading up to this point, despite, you know, what we've kind of come to know about him as a person. And in this situation, it saves his life.
Yeah, and actually, there's no response from Handsomeguy to a certain extent, where he's on 10 health, and the board is so wide. Never mind, swipe from the Wild Growth. That is how it is done. And that might actually clear up the game here, because there is no chance of a Houndmaster onto the high main, which was the highest chance of actually dealing with this Arcane Giant. That swipe was huge.
Yeah, it might have been a wide board, but it was a wide board basically constructed of tissue paper, and Swipe just mows it down.
Yeah, that was pretty rough for GundamFlame, and as I said, that might spell the end, but I think the play he did of actually just going very wide and saying, if you don't have Swipe, you either need to very weirdly trade into this board, or I'll kill you. You know, there needs to be an answer, and at one point, Handsomeguy was in a very tough position there. Now he's looking pretty good, and I think... is there any world in which you just don't kill this hyena with the 2-2?
Well...
Okay, so the idea here is Deadly Shot, right? So,
yeah, I was thinking Deadly Shot's basically all that gets him out of it.
Yeah, he needs a minion to be able to deal with the or at least give him a good chance with Deadly Shot, but we can see that that is not GundamFlame's hand, and pretty sure he just has to go with Wolf into Houndmaster here just to try and stop this damage from the Arcane Giant. But it's not going to be enough with Malygos and Moonfire in hand to aim it at the Wolf, clear it off, and then another swipe as well, why not? But yep, the Arcane Giant, the one threat that Handsomeguy could pull off early on, just put in so much work, and no Deadly Shot from GundamFlame means that he is going to lose this game and lose the series overall. Handsomeguy is going to the finals.
GundamFlame